Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to the Clallam County Library for allowing us to use this facility. I also want to thank the members of the League's Voter Services Committee. They put forth all the effort to organize this event. My name is Nancy Esteb, and I'll be your moderator tonight. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a 98-year-old national nonpartisan political organization whose purpose is to encourage local citizens to register to vote, become well-informed voters, and participate at all levels of government. The League does not support or oppose candidates, factions, or political parties. The views expressed here tonight are those of the candidates and not of us. The League, however, does act in support of or in opposition to selected governmental issues which its members have studied. You can find more information about the League on the membership table over there, or by going to our website, which is lwvcla.org. And that might be someplace on a banner, is it?
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, in case you forget it. We'll be following the agenda you were given, and if you don't have one, again, just raise your hand and someone will bring you one. Before we begin, first turn off all cell phones and devices that make noise. We don't like that. There are restrooms in the lobby. Also, about video recording, no non-league audio or video recording devices of any kind are permitted during the forum unless prior permission has been received. The League is recording the forum and the video will be posted on our website. Our forum tonight will be in two parts. The first panel will feature the candidates for District Court 1, and the second panel will be the candidates for state representative positions 1 and 2. Each panel will follow the same basic outline. The candidates will make brief opening statements, then we'll take questions from the audience, and then the candidates will make their closing statements. We hope you'll be thinking of the questions you want to ask the candidates as you listen to their opening statements. And if you need a card to write on, hold up your hand and a League member will bring you one. To make the most of our time, I ask you to kindly refrain from applauding or making any other noises which in any way interrupt our speakers. I'll be sure to give you a chance at the end of each panel to give a round of applause to the candidates. League members wearing name tags are located around the room, and please signal to them if you need assistance with anything. Our timers this evening are Tommy Schwendt and Linda Fetchett. Their job is to make sure we stay within the time limits that have been established for each segment of our forum. If you've been to any of our forums, you know we're kind of sticklers about time limits. The agenda provides summary information on the responsibilities of each office that is being discussed tonight, so I won't talk about that. You can read it. All right, the candidates for the first position, District Court 1, are Dave Neupert and Suzanne Hayden. Both candidates, in the order they filed for office, will be given up to 2 minutes for their opening remarks. We have asked the candidates to introduce themselves by covering the following information: their qualifications for serving in this office, why they are running for the office, what their goals are for their first year in this term of office. Candidates, please keep your eye on our timer so you can gauge your time. You will each have 2 minutes. We'll begin with Dave Neupert.
Thank you very much, and good evening, folks. Can you hear me in the back, Mark? Can you hear me all right? Great, appreciate it very much. Well, I am Dave Neupert, and I'm a candidate for District Court 1 judge, and I want to thank you folks for coming out this evening. I know that you're here at this forum because you care about your community, and so do I. And that's why I am running to be your next District Court judge. I have literature on the table there that'll give you more information about my background and my qualifications and my community involvement, but I can tell you that I am the only candidate in this race who has judicial experience in the district court. I was also rated #1 in every category by the 2018 Clallam County Bar Poll for this position. I'm here tonight to ask for your vote. I know that I'm well qualified. I've been practicing law in this county for over 25 years and have been a judge pro tem in the district court for about 20 of those years. I have completed the Washington State Judicial College, which I completed just last year in 2017. The reason I'm running is because I do have experience relevant to this job. I love the community, I love the law, and I want to put my experience to work. I'm very involved in the community, as you can see from the handout that I have, working currently with several nonprofit groups in this area, including Habitat for Humanity and Peninsula Behavioral Health. And the first year goals that I have to improve the court would be to always make sure that offenders who come through the court are held accountable, make good use of community service work, make the best use that we have for therapeutic courts, for people that are a good fit for that, and to always make sure that the court operates as efficiently and effectively as it can. I'm Dave Neupert, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Hayden, and I'm also running for District Court Judge here in Port Angeles, and I am very well qualified. I've been working in all of the different courts in Clallam County for the past 23 years, starting in District Court 1. Everyone starts in District Court 1. The last 16 years I've been in Superior Court in the juvenile division, working with the kids, and going back to District Court is going to be a lot of fun and amazing, and it's going to be a wonderful place to make some changes, which is what I would like to do. You'll see some of the ideas in my literature that's over on the table. Additionally, I want to let you know that I have some amazing endorsements. I am endorsed by Washington State Senator Kevin Vanderweg, Washington State Supreme Court Justice Susan Owens, and I practiced with Susan, in front of Susan, for probably about 6 years out in District Court 2, which is also a district court. So she knows me very well. The Jamestown Clallam Tribal Council, Clallam County Superior Court Judge Brian Kogenauer, Clallam County Retired Superior Court Judge Ken Williams. And those are just some of the many people that are endorsing me. And so I think that, that at this point in time, I've covered goals, why, and qualifications. I don't know that I have much more to tell you other than answering your questions. So thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for asking us.
Thank you, both candidates. Next, we'll take as many questions as possible from you, the audience. Please come to the microphone, and there are there's one microphone over on this side, and you can line up along that sort of wall. State your name and specify who your question is for, although both candidates may answer every question. You'll have up to 30 seconds to ask your question. Our timers will hold up the stop sign if you use up that time. A league member will hold the microphone for you. The candidates will have up to 1 minute to answer each question, so please consider this time limit when crafting your question. It may help you to stay within your 30-second time limit if you write your question out beforehand and then read it when it is your turn at the mic. If you do not wish to come to the microphone, you may give your written question to one of our league members and it will be read aloud for you. The candidates will be given up to 1 minute to answer each question. Both candidates will have an opportunity to respond to all questions, even those directed to a specific candidate. I will then give each candidate the opportunity to respond to or rebut their fellow candidates' answers. They will be given up to 30 seconds for a brief response or rebuttal, or if they wish, they may waive their chance to respond. I hope that we will be able to hear all your questions. Please keep in mind that we'll give everyone in the audience the chance to ask a question up to about 30 minutes before taking follow-ups or multiple questions from the same person. I expect there will be approximately 30 minutes for audience questions and candidate responses, but this is an estimate. If we run out of time before you get your question answered, we encourage the candidates to remain after this forum so that you may speak with them directly. All right. Anybody want to ask questions? You need to go up to the mic.
Hope the mic comes in. In the news you hear about aberrations. In sentencing, oftentimes very harsh, oftentimes very lenient. How would you define justice in your court? What are the considerations for doing justice?
Mr. Neupert, you may go first.
Sure. The question was, how do you handle sentencing in your court, and what I would interpret it to mean, how are you consistent in your sentencing? And I appreciate that question because sentencing is an important part of this position, and it's a part of the job that I am well accustomed to, having been in the position of imposing sentence on offenders who have come through and either pleaded guilty or been found guilty. And when I impose sentence, I consider the seriousness of the offense, the effect it has had on the victim, because when I'm in court, victims will always have the right to be heard. I consider whether the person has prior similar offenses, whether they present a risk of reoffending within the community, if they're amenable to any type of treatment or other requirements, and if there's any sort of expression of remorse. Those are the factors that I look for in deciding whether to impose sentence. In imposing sentence on a gross misdemeanor, the range is from 0 days to 364 days. So there's a broad range of categories that I look at, and there's a broad range of time that I can impose. But that's how I do my best to stay consistent.
Ms. Hayden?
And I didn't hear the question as consistency. What I heard is, what is justice? What do I consider justice? And what I consider justice is for me to be able to listen to both sides. I need to listen to the prosecutor so that I hear the story and what's happening with the victim. I need to hear the victim. If that person wants to make a statement, or sometimes there's a victim advocate, I need to hear the defense lawyer to find out what's happening as well. Almost every story, when you listen to it, is going to be different. It can be one element, the crimes are the same, but the reasons for the crimes are different. And that's what I want to be able to listen to be able to figure out. Do I get to finish the sentence? To be able to figure out how to hold a person accountable while figuring out how I can get them out of this cycle as well.
Yes. During my time on the bench, I have developed a consistent approach to sentencing. And that's the approach that I will continue going forward when I'm elected as the next district court judge. And that is to make sure that victims have the opportunity to be heard, and that I am consistent in my approach to sentencing, where I almost get to be where I am predictable. So that when people come to court, they have a sense of reliance on where I'm coming from and where I'm likely to end up after considering all of the factors that I mentioned earlier.
I also intend to start some of these therapeutic courts that are being touted. There is no DUI drug court. They're calling it one, but it's not one. It's not the model format of a DUI of any drug court. I've been involved in drug court over the last 20 years, the last 16 years with the juveniles. So that's just one of the kinds of things that I want to be able to get into court to implement, because that's the kind of thing that's going to get an entire family out of the cycle of alcoholism.
Thank you.
Hi, Rachel Ringer. Can you hear it?
Nope.
No. Does it?
You may have to turn it on.
It is on.
It's on.
Oh. Oh, red. Here. I think you have to get turned on. Hold on.
Hello?
All right. There you go. I understand my problems.
Hi, Rachel Ringer. I'm on the board of PA CAN, which is Port Angeles Citizen Action Network, and it's about overdose and addiction. So my question is about drug court, and I would like both of you to answer this question. The sitting district court judge has taken the position that he will not agree to the standard drug court contract in two regards. He will not agree to an opt-out period, and he will not agree with medically assisted treatment. This, in effect, prevents district court defendants from participating in drug court. What is your position on these drug court issues?
Well, I can tell you right away, that's one of the problems that drug court has a contract, and it has a contract for a reason. The opt-out provision was touted by the prosecuting attorney. They want to be able to determine whether someone's appropriate after somebody's in, so there's an opt-out period. That's very, very important, as is the medically assisted treatment. In years past, everybody thought that there should be no medical assistance, that if you're an addict, you shouldn't even take aspirin because that's mood altering, because then it takes your headache away. Nowadays, we have looked at lots of studies that are starting to show that medical assistance, and the Sheriff's Office has been very proactive in working with medically assisted addiction problems in the jail right now to get people get started on it. But that's the cutting edge. That's where we're going. So by not agreeing to that, he's effectively saying there's no drug court.
Ms. Ringer, my position is that the district court judge should make the best use of all available therapeutic court modes. And I know that there's a need for that because of my work with Peninsula Behavioral Health, where I currently serve as the board vice president, and have gotten to the point where I've become even better educated about what programs are available, what treatment modalities are available, and what is effective. It is not a one-size-fits-all approach. You know that. What is taken into consideration is the individual circumstances, what treatment program is appropriate, and how best to get somebody through that treatment program so they don't go into drug court simply as a way to try to avoid getting a conviction. That's setting someone up to fail. People that have the motivation and are willing to meet all the factors and the criteria of a drug court contract should be encouraged and permitted to do that.
Peninsula Behavioral Health does not have a chemical dependency program. That's an entirely separate issue. That's mental health, and they are absolutely something required and part of what we're looking at. What was asked is about this unilateral decision that Judge Porter made by striking out some of the provisions and then sending it over to drug court saying, this is what the contract is, and that's all I'm going to allow. Superior Court isn't going to take district court. Superior District, Superior is the Superior Court. They've done this for over 20 years. They know what they're doing. Oops, sorry. They know what they're doing, and they're not going to accept it, which means that person can't come in.
Well, again, I don't approach this issue the way that any other judge, past or current perhaps, approaches it. And certainly my decisions going forward aren't bound by the decisions that anybody's made previously. I'm willing to look at the programs and the policies that best protect the interests of the community while allowing folks who are motivated to get well to be able to receive treatment.
Next question.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for being here and for running this evening. For the past number of years, there has not been a huge amount of collaboration between District Court 1 and District Court 2. And I'm wondering, my question to you is, do you see opportunities for working more closely between the district courts that will either help to save resource and or improve service delivery? And would you be willing to work with the other district court judge to identify such opportunities?
Thank you, Commissioner Ozias, for that question. Certainly, I have the ability to work with anybody who's in another district court judge position. If there's been friction in the past, I'm not carrying that forward. I know both of the candidates for District Court 2 judge. I've known each of them for years. I have respect for both of them, and frankly, would look forward to working with whomever is elected there. You talked about what might be ways to collaborate or cooperate. I would work with the judge in District Court 2 to look at best implementation of the 24/7 sobriety monitoring program. I recognize that these are different areas of the county, and that the judges that are elected there are reflective of the priorities and what's necessary in each one of those districts. But I can certainly work with them, whoever it is.
The sitting judge at the moment has made a decision not to have cooperation. Judge Doherty has let me know that he has tried many times to discuss this and has been rebuffed. I don't think that's one of the reasons that we have a $65,000 pro tem budget, which is outrageous. It's the largest it's ever been. We don't need to pay that much for substitute judges. Those are for things that when I have conflicts, or if I'm on vacation, or I don't take very many sick days, but if that were to happen. And those are the kinds of times that instead of getting and paying a substitute judge, a private attorney who can come in and act, but working with District Court 2, I've already spoken to John Black. Eric and I have known each other for years as well, so I don't see it as an issue no matter who's in. But that's exactly what we're going to be doing, is having a spirit of cooperation to deal with conflicts.
Part of the current pro tem judge budget in District Court 1 is based on the fact that the current presiding judge also serves in the United States Air Force and is gone for like 1 month at a time during the year, and it's necessary for that position to remain filled when that judge is not available. That necessity goes away when I'm elected, because it won't be needing to take a month away from my job each year to do military service. And I certainly don't have the conflicts in hearing cases involving the Public Defender's Office that would necessitate bringing in judges pro tem.
In looking at the district court budget, the 30 days that Judge Porter was gone, Mr. Neupert was paid $5,000 for that month covering. That's a real difference than saying it's just one 30-day period. This is a $65,000 budget. So, I mean, this is months and months if it's $5,000 at a time. As far as any conflicts with district court, the first thing I did before I even put my hat in the ring was call an ethics professor and say, I'm a public defender, I want to run. These are the issues. My husband will be a part-time public defender, although he's also a private attorney. The public defender's office rents a building from him. How long can I go?
You have to stop now.
Okay. He said there were absolutely no conflicts unless it's one of the kids that comes up, which is not very often. So it is not an issue.
All right, next question.
I interpreted the first question as Suzanne did, what is your idea of justice? And Dave, quite frankly, your answer really bothered me because you immediately jumped to sentencing. You bypassed the question of whether or not someone is innocent or guilty. That concerns me. There's also other considerations of justice, such as disqualifying yourself in conflicts of interest cases. Also, you do handle civil cases. So I'm just wondering what both of your ideas are in those respects.
Sure.
All right,
Oh, that's it.
Boy, there is so much there. I hope I remember all of this. Certainly in the context of civil cases, it's going to be the same thing. Justice to most people is being heard. Not necessarily having something go their way, but to know that I heard the argument, that I understand the argument, and as long as I can explain this is what the law says and this is the way it needs to go because that's what the law says, that is justice to me. And that's what I believe we need to bring into the courtroom is the respect enough of the individuals coming in, no matter who they are, no matter what their socioeconomic background, whether they are a voter or not, those kinds of things, to have them come in, be able to listen, not be told to shut up, not be told to made to cry, and listen to them and respond to them.
Ron, are you sensing as an example of how I understand justice and how I apply it? What justice is to me is following the law and not making up the law. It's knowing and understanding what is required under the Constitution of the United States and under the Constitution of the State of Washington. It's understanding the laws of the State of Washington and the rules of procedure, both civil and criminal, for courts of limited jurisdiction. I am well-versed in those areas, Ron, having worked as a judge pro tem for years at the district court. I apply the law, I don't create the law. To me, that's justice.
would you like to rebut?
I believe there was also the point of conflicts of interest in civil cases, which I'm going to guess had to do with Mr. Neupert's dog case, which everybody knows about. There's nothing wrong with the dog case. There's nothing wrong with Dave suing his neighbors. All of that was perfectly fine. The only issue was the conflict, and that is that they tried to have it with Judge Porter on the bench. You can't have your pro tem judge, your buddy, the person that you want to be judge. You don't have that person in front of you trying to choose who's right. That's a conflict.
Thank you. Thank you. It seems silly to bring this up now, but both dogs that were involved in that issue are long since dead. But, there was never any effort to have that case heard by any particular judge. That case was assigned to Judge Jill Landis from Jefferson County. She heard it. No effort was made to have that case heard by any other judge. I know that, Ron, because I was there.
All right, next question.
Question for both of you. It deals with mental health in our court systems. And this is based on a conversation we had with our District Court 2 judge today. I'd heard about it before. In the last 2 years of this gentleman's life, he was in court he was in jail for over 400 days. And the whole question is, as it was described by the judge today, how can we improve upon the system? Because obviously mental health is a very important issue when we get them in our system, and if this is outcome when they jump off a bridge, then that's obviously a travesty. They're not anything good.
All right, Mr. Neupert, you start.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for that thoughtful question. The issue of mentally ill offenders is always going to be present in the courts. Now, was that a district court case, Randy?
District court.
A district court case where somebody sat for 400 days waiting.
A couple, they were in and out, in and out, in and out.
Now, some of that delay could be if it is necessary for somebody's competency to be determined, because a person has to be competent in order for them to stand trial. And if they're not competent, the court can look at whether competency should be restored. And that process doesn't take place within a set period of time. 400 days to me sounds like an awfully long period of time to determine whether a case is going to be heard or not. When I'm on the bench, cases are not delayed unnecessarily. And I know at the state level, the Western State Hospital has had pressure put on it to make sure that it gets its cases resolved in a more timely manner.
I didn't hear this as an involuntary commitment, mental health evaluation for competency. I heard this as a person who has mental health issues. It's almost impossible to comply with their sentence and probation. Therefore, they're constantly brought into jail to serve time for not doing what they're supposed to. That's absolutely one of the things that I am going to change. It's not jail or you do it, jail or you do it. There's an interim segment there that's missing about services. I have a woman who is going to be working with me. She's got degrees. She's got her degree is in these kinds of services. She's retired. What she wants to do and what she's agreed to do, we're going to find out what the services are. Sometimes even within an agency, different people don't know what the services are. So I'm going to take the time to actually get in touch with agencies, find out what their services are. Some agencies will actually meet a person at the jail and take them to their appointment or find out when their appointments are going to be and make sure they get there.
Well, Peninsula Behavioral Health and other treatment providers locally are well equipped to deal with folks who are enduring mental health issues. And if somebody is cycling in and out of jail because they're reoffending, and typically the offenses that I see, Commissioner Johnson, involve trespassing cases or violation of a no contact order, or somebody with mental health issues will continue to come back into court. It's not one size fits all. It's a matter of finding the right program for that person. And I know PBH, for example, does an excellent job at that. And I'll continue to work with them. It's less of an opportunity in the West End than it is in District 1.
Peninsula Behavioral Health will be good as far as counseling, if someone needs a medication and reevaluation, those kinds of things. They do not provide door-to-door service from the jail to the appointment. Those are other kinds of agencies, people that want to help and are willing to help, but there's just this glitch where we don't know where all these services are, and that's why we have to get together and figure out who's willing to do what. We have amazing resources. We're kind of a black hole as far as mental health right now, but if we can look at these smaller agencies with people who want to volunteer, that's the way to go.
All right, if there are no more questions, but I think we have an additional question.
Yeah.
Hi, I'd kind of like to pull back the veil a little bit and ask you what challenges have you had in your personal life with your family and your friends that give you a better, Marilyn Smith, that give you a better depth to be a judge?
All right, Ms. Hayden, you will start.
I think that those kinds of questions are interesting. I think that sometimes I'm very comfortable answering those questions. Sometimes I'm not. I will tell you I've never made it a secret that I'm 34 years clean and sober, and if somebody wants to talk to me about that or has a family member that needs help with that or something, I think that would give me a lot of depth. Any other issues that I have, the Me Too movement and all that, I don't think it's appropriate for me to go there. This is my life, and I do have depth of experience. I have a lot of empathy for people, but we also need to hold people accountable. And just because we know what it was like to be there doesn't mean that it's okay that people are going to commit crimes if they're there. That is not what a judge does.
We've all been affected to some degree by domestic violence and mental health issues and substance abuse issues within our families, within our friends, within our communities. Somebody that I am very close to was intercepted by the Seattle Police Department when that person was about to go over the 45th Street Bridge over Interstate 5. And that act of bravery saved that person's life. That's a perspective that I have on how important it is to intervene, and when you see something, you do something, you act. I don't filter every case that I hear, Ms. Smith, through that, but that's an experience that I've been able to rely on and to draw on when I'm in the court considering what people's circumstances are. I learned from that, and I'll never forget it.
Ms. Hayden, would you like to rebut anything? No? All right. Now, are there any other questions?
Well, thank you again. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, I want to thank you for appearing here this evening. I hope you can remain for the rest of the forum and visit with audience members afterwards. Let's give a round of applause for these two. My guardian angel here, Candace, reminded me that I have not given them their opportunity for their final statements. So, yes, Ms. Hayden, you may start first with your final statement.
I'm Suzanne Hayden. I am the best candidate for this job. I have extensive experience in all of the courtrooms that are in Clallam County, additionally in the Lower Elwha Tribal Court. I know what the issues are. I have been in a courtroom. Whenever I am in a courtroom, that's all you're doing is interacting with the judge. I know what courtrooms are supposed to be like and what people are supposed to do. I have amazing endorsements, and I just want to be able to tell you that I have amazing ideas to save money, to go through, change, look at every single docket, see whether it's relevant, see whether it's not. There is nothing that I am going to keep the same in that courtroom. The current sitting judge has been admonished by the Judicial Committee. He's gotten in trouble by the ACLU for his treatment of poor people. None of that is going to continue. The overblown, bloated budgets are not going to continue. It is time for change. If you want it to stay the same, if you like the way Judge Porter has done stuff, then you vote for my opponent. You want change, you vote for me.
Okay, well, I want to thank the League again for this forum this evening. I forgot something too. I want to thank the League again for this forum this evening, and I especially want to thank you folks for your questions, because I know I learn a lot more from the questions than I do from hearing my own answers. And I feel inspired by Raymond Carver, since we're in the Raymond Carver room this evening, who said, "I'm always learning something. Learning never ends." And I can tell you I continue to learn while I work as a substitute judge in the court. I've been practicing law in Clallam County for 25 years, and folks, I'm just getting started. I am looking very forward to being your next district court judge. I will put my experience as the only candidate with judicial experience to work, I'll put my community involvement to work to serve your folks to the best of my ability. I'm Dave Neupert. I love the law. I love this community. And I ask for your vote. And thanks again for your time and attention.
Thank you again. And now we will have a little switcheroo while these people go away and our next panel